Yesterday's segment of Good Morning America didn't just make headlines, it shocked the nation. For decades, Keanu Reeves has been celebrated as the soft-spoken, introspective star who avoids conflict at all costs. But what viewers witnessed that morning will go down as one of the most explosive and revealing moments in daytime television history. The clip has already gone viral, and it's no mystery why. It started off like any other promotional appearance. Keanu was scheduled for a friendly morning chat to promote his deeply personal passion project, an indie film exploring motorcycle culture and the spiritual brotherhood of the open road. He arrived in typical Keanu fashion, understated, modest, and deeply human. Dressed in a simple black jacket and worn jeans, he greeted the crew with genuine warmth, asking about their families, shaking hands, offering smiles. But once the cameras started rolling, it was clear something was off. George Stephanopoulos, usually a polished and composed morning anchor, came in hot. This wasn't going to be a light chat about acting or film direction. From the very first question, he veered away from Keanu's project and straight into an ambush. "Keanu, let's talk about what our viewers are really interested in," George began, his tone already veering into hostile territory. "There have been ongoing rumors about your personal life, your relationships, even questions about whether your entire nice guy persona is just an act." The air in the studio shifted. The live audience fell completely silent. Even the crew paused. Keanu's expression didn't change much, but for those who followed his career closely, there was a subtle tightening around his eyes. He leaned forward gently, took a breath, and replied with poise. "George, I appreciate being here, I truly do. But I came to talk about the film. It's a story that means a lot to me, and I think your audience would find it moving." But George wasn't backing off. "No offense, Keanu, but this is exactly what I mean. That constant deflection. You've built your brand around mystery. Don't you think the public deserves to know who the real Keanu Reeves is?" The line cut like a blade. Keanu, still calm, responded with quiet firmness. "I'm not deflecting, George. I'm simply redirecting back to what we agreed to discuss. If you want to talk about public perception or personal philosophy, we can do that, but let's do it with respect." That word respect landed like a challenge. George's eyebrow arched. The smirk forming on his lips wasn't subtle. "Is that what you call it, when you've spent 30 years playing essentially the same guy over and over? The brooding loner, the silent warrior, the stoic philosopher with a tragic past. Where's the range? Where's the challenge?" You could almost hear the air get sucked out of the studio. Keanu didn't raise his voice. He never does. But his jaw had tightened, and there was a new weight behind his words. "Every role I've taken has required me to dig deep, to connect with something honest. Acting isn't pretending, it's revealing. If you think those characters are all the same, then maybe you haven't been paying close enough attention." George leaned back, clearly satisfied that his provocation was working. "Oh, I've been paying attention, Keanu, but the public is starting to ask questions about what really happens behind the scenes. What about the reports from your last film? Conflict with the director, crew members walking off set, people saying you're difficult to work with." Now even the camera operators froze. This wasn't just edgy journalism, this was a coordinated character attack. Keanu's face went still. Not because he was guilty, but because he couldn't believe what he was hearing. "Those allegations," he said slowly, "are false, fabricated. I've worked with hundreds of people over 3 decades, ask any of them. I show up prepared. I do the work, and I treat everyone from the director to the production assistant with equal respect." But George wasn't done. "You're saying none of it is true? That you've never had heated exchanges with anyone on set? That you've never used your star power to get your way?" Keanu's posture straightened. He wasn't rattled anymore, he was resolved. "I've had disagreements, creative ones. That's part of collaboration. But I've never, not once, intimidated or disrespected anyone. And to suggest otherwise without evidence is irresponsible." George pounced again, sensing a reaction. "Sources say that during a shoot in Toronto, you became physically aggressive with a stunt coordinator. That crossed a line." You could hear gasps, actual gasps from the crew. "That never happened." Keanu replied, voice calm but firm, his eyes narrowing. "That kind of behavior goes against everything I stand for. You're making serious accusations, George. And you're doing it based on gossip and nothing more." George's smirk returned. "There are whispers from your co-stars too. That your legendary kindness is just a cover. That you're actually controlling, cold, and difficult when the cameras are off." Keanu leaned in. "Name one, just one. Give me a single co-star who's said that. If you're going to make these claims, you should be prepared to back them up." George waved a dismissive hand. "You know I can't name sources. But the industry talks." Keanu's laugh was low and disbelieving. You know what the industry actually says, George. That I show up on time. That I know the crew's names. That I bring birthday cake to set. That I treat every single person, from boom operators to interns, with decency. That I ask how people are doing and wait for the answer. The tension was now unbearable. And yet, George insisted, people are skeptical. Doesn't it all seem too perfect? The nicest guy in Hollywood, who never loses his temper, never has a bad day. Isn't that just a little too manufactured? Keanu looked genuinely incredulous. Wait, you think kindness is inhuman? That decency is suspicious. That tells me more about your worldview than it does about mine. George cut in with what he thought was the knockout blow. I think it's calculated. A strategy. Something designed to make you bankable, more likable. You're a brand, Keanu, not a person. Keanu finally sat back, his eyes never leaving George's. George, I've been patient. I assumed maybe this was a misunderstanding. Maybe you were trying to generate buzz. But now I see this for what it is. This isn't journalism. This is spectacle. And with that, the tone of the room shifted entirely. You invited me on this show under the pretense of talking about a film I poured my heart into. Instead, you ambushed me. You've spent the last 20 minutes trying to tear down my reputation based on nothing but innuendo. George tried to recover Keanu. Come on, these are standard questions. No, Keanu interrupted. Standard questions don't accuse someone of intimidation. Standard questions don't call 3 decades of work fake. Standard questions don't try to assassinate someone's character for ratings. George was clearly unraveling. His posture sagged. His eyes darted around. But Keanu wasn't finished. You want to know what's actually calculated? This interview. You came in with a plan. To provoke, to lie, and to frame it all as journalism. George stammered. Well, the public deserves to know. The public deserves honesty, Keanu said. And what you've done here is insult the intelligence of everyone watching. And then, with complete composure, Keanu removed his microphone. The room was frozen. You know what's truly sad? I was excited to be here. Excited to talk about a project that brings people together. Instead, I've spent the morning defending the idea that being kind isn't suspicious. That being respectful isn't a flaw. George made one last play. So this is how you respond to tough questions. You walk out. Keanu paused and turned around. These weren't tough questions, George. Tough questions would have been about the process, about the story, the risk, the emotional investment. You chose drama. You chose cruelty, and I'm choosing to walk away. The room was silent as Keanu Reeves, the most unshakable man in Hollywood, calmly picked up his jacket and walked off set. The last sound heard before the feed cut to commercial was the soft click of the studio door closing behind him, and just like that, Keanu made history. Not with an outburst. Not with shouting. But with quiet, unshakable dignity. The confrontation lasted less than 25 minutes, but it revealed everything we needed to know about both men. Keanu committed to truth, grace, and respect. George exposed as someone willing to weaponize narrative for a headline. As the internet continues to explode with clips and commentary, one thing is certain. Keanu Reeves didn't just defend himself, he reminded us what real integrity looks like. What do you think? Was Keanu right to walk away? Or should he have stayed and kept defending himself? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe for more raw, real stories from the world of entertainment, because sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is simply walk away.